All right. Hey, guys, we're going to get started with tonight's webinar. It's how we fix the biggest headache in coaching scout teams. There's a lot of headaches in coaching, but when we're talking about football, it's hard to deny just how big of a headache scout teams can be and have been. So, again, if you have any questions, there could be some specific questions tonight on how we do this. So you can do that again at Thad Wells, at Coach Strive. Send those questions, and we'll try to get them added to our sheet to discuss at the end of this. To get the webinar resources from what we talk about tonight or anything in the future, just go to CoachDrive.com, click on any of the Get Notified links you see on there, enter your emails if this is the first time ever doing anything. So, all right, everybody understands the frustration of trying to run scout teams. It's if you really sit back and think, I mean, throughout your years of coaching, how little people have actually done to improve these. I don't know why it is, but it's kind of an afterthought to a degree. You're so focused on your own schemes and running your practice and the little things that you get to scout teams, and then it just every day you do them, they're terrible, and then we never take the time to sit there and think about it and how to make them better. But I can promise you, if you'll invest the time to do that, it can make a big difference in the outcome on game day. So getting into it. So the purpose of the scout teams, so why do we even have them, right? So why, because some people, I've talked to some coaches who have pretty much gotten rid of them because they hated the inefficiency of them in general. All right. So why should we have them? So I'm just, throwing things out there that yours may be a little different, but this is to me why we use them. It's to prepare your players for what they're going to see on game day. Okay. So at the end of the day, that's what you're doing, right? Each degree of difference matters. So whatever you're going to face on game day, the degree of difference from what you show them throughout the week is going to matter. So the worse you are on scout teams, in my opinion, the less effective you're going to be on game day, at least starting off a game. To me, the number of quality reps really matters. Okay. But at the end of the day, your time matters. So how much time you can invest in your scout teams, it really comes down to how much time you're going to invest in the program in general. So to me, it comes back down to really efficient systems. So we'll get into that. So this is in general how people have been doing it for a long time. Now, this is a more updated version, right? This is something, using Huddle or any of the playmakers out there. But before that, we were drawing them on cards, maybe these monstrous cards that you created, or, just manila envelopes or something. We all have our way of creating these scout team cards. And that's kind of, I guess, where it started for most people, and where it still is for most people. I think maybe I mentioned this later on, but I was at a college spring game or spring practice just this last year, and I'm telling you, man, it doesn't matter whether you're at high school or college level or whatever. They're still doing it the same way. It's still I timed it because this is a little bit of a passion of mine. I don't know why, but I was timing how long it took for a scout team rep. And it was something like 50, almost a minute between. I'm talking about when the whistle blew until the next rep came. And when you're talking about a 10-minute session, that's less than 10 minutes, 10 plays a minute, or it's less than 10 plays in 10 minutes, right? So it's barely a play a minute, if that. That's not very efficient at all. But the way scout teams are created, for the most part, you can't really get efficient using this type of method. So the same thing for decades. So people have been drawing them on play cards. Now today, that's Huddle, Playmaker, all those things. The new technology, sometimes you'll see some of these newer technology using the wristbands that have the videos on them and all that, but still they've been pretty cumbersome. We've tested them. It still hasn't functioned the way we need it to with our scout teams. So we've been hesitant on implementing that. But essentially, we try to assign players a color because we think that's better than a letter. So we say, hey, you're the blue guy, do this or that. We still have to huddle when we're doing it that way, when you bring in kids to look at cards. So that's not very efficient. And then, another thing that people have been doing is using scout type guys. And I get it, based off your numbers, it might be, I understand that. But We'll talk about that. And then this is just for all levels. Like I said, like it's the same everywhere. I mean, literally all levels from youth on up, the scout teams are very inefficient. And so the problem to me, for one, the biggest problem probably is that players hate being on scout teams, so you get a horrible look for the most part. So just the motivation of it is not very good. Players completely forget assignments. So if you draw something up on a sheet for them and then you go tell them to line up, between the time of looking at it and walking and lining up, waiting for somebody to recorrect an alignment or something, they don't do the right thing. And another one, the next one, sorry, players don't know how far to run a route. So like if you just draw the plays, like you're going to need to like put specifics on there and already term it up. Like how far is this post? How far is that? If you want to really give the best look, like I said, the more degrees of difference between what you give them and what they actually do is going to affect you on game day. Takes too much time in between plays. Right? Talked about that. And then the quality of the players results in a bad look itself. So, and again, there's ways we can help that without changing personnel, but we'll talk about it. All right. So, and again, this isn't going to be a long talk. I'm giving you the big ideas here. So the solution that we went to, and again, talking about it a little bit in here, I don't think I mentioned anywhere else, but we were not doing too good when we implemented this. It was a couple years, or I don't know, 3 years ago, or 3 years ago, and we weren't very good at the time. During the year, we were giving up a lot of points. Just in general, we weren't having a great season, and really took some time to reflect. We were 2-4. Took some time to reflect and see what was going wrong in our program. And one of the biggest things, I just didn't think we were getting good enough scout teams. That's on both sides of the ball. And we changed how we did it to this system. And I know we went from averaging like 30 points a game, giving up, to like 12 to 14 points, something like that for the rest of the year. Ended up winning our state championship. So I can't just tell you how important this is. Coaches at all levels should really look to do something similar, at least, to get more efficient. But anyways, we call everything at the line of scrimmage now. So we're no huddle with our scout teams. No matter what type of system the other team uses, we're no huddle. We give very clear details for the assignment. All right. So like if a player is supposed to run a post and it's 5 steps, then we write that. We give those exact details. We use our next best players. So whoever's not starting on D, they're going to come to offense and run this for us. So we have our varsities do that. Then our JVs serve each other. So we're using good players as best we can. And if they're not, and I'll explain this later, if they're not as good as we need it to be, then we find ways to cheat for them. And I'll explain that. We make sure to reward our scout team players. So we need to, show them how important it is, because it is. It's not just, we're not giving lip service to these guys. Like, our scout teams are tremendously important to what we do. So we have to make sure that we're rewarding them in some way. And then I think it's very important you have a respected coach to be in charge. This is definitely one of the things that a lot of teams fail to do. They think they should just stick a coach in charge of it that doesn't have a big responsibility on the team. Usually that might be either a JV coach or a young coach that's just getting started, but yet they haven't got the respect of everybody. So they can't even get people to huddle up. Everybody wants to just take a knee behind them. And to be honest, I run our scout teams now. I used to just do it for our defense because I was an offensive coordinator, but now that I have an OC and a DC, I run both scout teams. I think it's that important. And I know by me doing it, the players are going to buy in. So whether you can do it or whoever it is, I highly encourage you, somebody that can demand the respect and the attention of the scout team players. All right. So the benefits, and we'll get to how we do it here in a second, but the benefits of this is you're going to reduce stress and headaches, man. Just telling you, like, we all know, like, at the end of a scout team session or a team session, like, we're just frustrated because they won't line up, or they won't run a play right, or it's just slow. Like, we'll just reduce the stress from that. The quality and the quantity of your reps are going to skyrocket with this. We're getting at least triple the reps in team. So if we go a 10-minute session in a team, we could come close to 30 plays in that. And when we're doing it as efficient as possible. So your offense and defense is going to improve. That's just simple. Like, you're going to get more quality reps. So yes, you're going to get better, which means you're going to have, your win and loss record entirely will get better if you not saying you got to follow what we do, but if you at least sit and think about how to make your scout teams better. So you'll save time in general. This is a time saver. You have to invest a little time up front, but in the end, it's going to save time, especially during the season. And you're going to, as a coach, if you do this, you're going to learn so much more about your opponent. As soon as I started doing this, I got to just see all the little details of our opponent, and being able to game plan was just so much easier knowing these little things. And then let's say you're a small staff, a small private school or something. One coach, literally one coach, could run a team session. He could run the defense and the offense. Whichever one's a scout team, he could get them lined up. Whoever's the offense, he can get them, or the starters or whatever, they can get them lined up. So literally you can run your entire team session with one coach. All right. So how does it work? So for us, okay, now just quick reminder that this is for both offense and defense. Okay, so you can do it for both of them. I'm going to talk a lot like as if I was on defense and I'm trying to create an offensive scout team, but it works for both sides. All right. You can use Excel or Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets because we use basically Google for everything, but you could use Excel for this as well. Know that what we use are custom formulas that we've created. And we started with a template we've got several years ago, but we've kind of customized this to fit us. And so there's a lot of formulas involved. And you're welcome to create your own sheet and get through those formulas and all that. But that's kind of where a lot of the back time investment is and getting that set up. It just makes everything work. Like if you don't have formulas, this is going to take a long time. So in terms of like Excel and Google Sheet formulas. So anyways, you don't have to worry about that if you don't want to. I'll explain that too. All right. So this is an example of what my risk. So essentially what we're doing is we're using risk coaches. Okay. So like, even though, we've used this, but our team hasn't used risk coaches on game day. Some years we have, some years we haven't. Right now we are at a new school. We're using risk coaches because we just can install and learn easier this way. But so you see, like, for example, here, this is what mine looks like. And this is just how I organize it. You can organize it however you want. So this would be like, let's say we got spread plays in the yellow column there. We've got some I formation plays in the blue, or whatever you want it to be, right? Like it's whoever you're playing, this stuff is going to be different. So what we're doing is like I would be going to the line and I would be saying like, let's say yellow 14. Okay. So to me, that's in my terminology, that would be spread speed option. And the way I do this, I'll explain this in a second, but I can do spread right or spread left, and I don't have to put that multiple times. Right. So this is just an example. This isn't one from last year or anything, but this is just like example of what it can be. So that's what mine looks like. And then this is what the quarterbacks would look like. So if he got yellow 14, his would just say speed option. And for us, we know that speed option is going to the running back. All right. So we're using our terminology. That's very important. Your terminology for things. All right. Then the running back is also getting speed option. So he knows he's getting speed option on yellow 14. Right. And then the X receiver is getting stock 1. So let's say that's our terminology. And we teach them like, hey, you're going to be blocking the number 1 defender. Like for us, we count outside in. So he knows I'm going to stock number 1. He doesn't know speed option's coming. He just knows a run's coming, and he needs to block for it. Our right guard says option to back. So that way we don't have to put this speed option right and speed option left. So now I can change the play by simply flipping the back. And now the lineman will say, okay, the back's on the right. So I'm going to run, we're running our option to the right. I'm running option to the left. Okay. So like if you run option, right? Well, let's say you don't run option in your offense, or you don't run power, then you can give like that lineman a very specific job. If you know how your defense will line up, well, then you can tell that right guard, if it's like power or something, you can just say, hey, double the 3 to backside backer in whatever terminology you want, right? You have so many characters. So you can just say double 3 to BL. All right. So it's to BLB, backside linebacker, or whatever terminology you would use for your own players. Right. So, so before I even get off this, it's like we use this for everything. So this is how we build. I don't even have a playbook anymore with our offense and defense. We don't draw things up. We think in terms of definitions. So when we build our offense and we know we're going to create a play, let's say Y cross or something, then we put terminology to each job. So we build a database up of definitions for everybody's job. And then when we're going to build a practice schedule, all we have to do is say, hey, receivers coach, just go look at all your terminology. Know that you got to get your players to understand all the words that we do. And as long as they understand all that, we're good, right? We can execute anything. So this isn't just a scout team thing for us. This is literally how we build all of our schemes now. But that's for a whole different topic. But just scout teams in general, even if you don't use that for everything else, this is just how we build it with our scout teams. All right. So essentially, there's a library, okay, within this formula system, and with the library, you're essentially building a play bank. So, like if you see like this right here, this is just what I see on my risk coach. On our library, the way it's set up, and I think I meant to put a picture on this over here, but you'll get the picture. Like essentially our library, like if you were looking at this sheet, like this left-hand side, this where it says spread, this right here would be the name of the play and formation. And then we have 11 columns on the side, and we just put the play name on the first one, and then we put the job of each player in there. Okay. So some people will start asking, well, how does this save time? Right. Well, the good part about this is, one, you can do it before the season starts, or you can build your library of what other teams do. But in general, so many people are doing so many of the same things. It's easy. So like if I play multiple spread teams, all I got to really do is create this once, and then I just copy and paste that week's plays. All right. So whatever plays we're doing that we're seeing on film. So let me explain this a little bit more again, like how we do this. All right. So this is how I do that. Okay. So I start off by scouting our opponent. So that's watching the film of our opponents. We put the plays into the library. So like I have a coach, when we're watching huddle, he'll put the formation names in, and then we'll put the play names in. And then all I do is I go and sort huddle by the most used formation first. So however many games we put in there, if spread right is the most used formation, then that's how I'm going to start scout teams, because I'm going to call plays during the week based off the percentage of what they use. So if they use a bunch of spread, or let's say they're trips heavy or something, then the first formation I'm going to put in there is trips, or whichever one, right? And then I'm going to go and look at the plays, and then I'm going to order it based off formation first and then the plays. So let's say their favorite formation is spread, and their favorite play is inside zone with bubbles on the outside. If that's the case, then that's the first play I'm putting on to the risk coach. So I put it in there based off of the percentage of how many times they run something. So when I'm calling plays, I know that's the order that it's in for the most part. All right. So I'm going to put plays into the library. That's what I was talking about. So there's a library within our formula system with all this. So I make sure all the formations or plays are in there. The first year you do this, it'll maybe a little bit more time, but I'm telling you, after that, especially if you have a bunch of spread teams, it's just copy and paste. It's way quicker than creating these play cards over and over and over. We color the coach's sheet. So I create my call sheet. So that's another thing within our formula. Like you create the call sheet to go exactly what I'm going to be calling throughout the week in scout teams. I color code it. That's just my personal, like I showed you just here. I color code it. So I know that white is a run. An orange is quick game for me. Blue is pass. Green is screen. So I know, like, if I'm trying to call a play in a quick, hurried up in like scout team, I just like, okay, I need a screen now. So let me find a green play. And all I got to do is call it, right? So I just say red 55, and I know we're getting ready to run a screen to number 1. Okay. So and this is just an example. We get way more detailed too in how we communicate things. And then we got to print the risk coaches. And that's different for every printer that you have. So you make sure that, if you do use risk coaches before, you just got to make sure that your printer settings meet the risk coach that you buy. We currently use Under Armour risk coaches. They've just lasted a long time for us. We tried other brands, and when we dried them, like, I'm not about like washing and then hanging up 100 risk coaches throughout the week. So we wash them and we dry them, and the Under Armours have held up so far. Then selecting the players for your scout teams is very important. I think when I look at the team's personnel, I try to make our scout team match it if I can. But it's not always possible, but I try to get a good scout team for us. Then you have to motivate your scout team. So that's what I'm talking about by telling them how important they are, showing them how important they are, giving them little benefits when it comes to eating or whatever it is. You got to prop them up somehow. So then what we do when we get on the field, I call out the formation of the front or you don't have to. We also, what I'm moving towards this year is I'm putting the formation on the risk coach. So it's going to tell players exactly where to line up too. So I don't even have to call formation anymore. So I just, basically all I'm going to say is like red 20, the players get lined up, they see what they're doing. And so it's literally, you know, the whistle blows for a dead play. I scream out red 20. The players read it. They run the play. The whistle blows. I scream out yellow 18. The players read it. The whistle blows. It's that fast. And we can line our kids up literally in any formation. But that's based off the terminology you use too within your program. So, so essentially at the end of the day, what I'm doing is I'm watching the other opponent and I'm putting their stuff into our communication, our terminology, so that our players can do what we see them do. And sometimes it might not match up exactly, but I need them doing as close as possible to what they're doing. And if I already have a term for what is similar, we'll use that. If not, we will make something. We'll explain it very, very specifically within the words that they get, like these words right here, with the words that they get on the risk coach itself. And so some other things like looking at it or thinking about this. If you want to go really, really fast and you've got enough players, create two groups. State championship game a couple years ago, we played a single wing team. And if you ever play single wing, you know that is one of the hardest scout teams to create. And we had two full single wing scout teams. And so like we knew that this system was working when we were able to run two full scout teams. We were snapping the ball to people, which a lot of people won't do when they're trying to scout a single wing team. So we were snapping the ball to people. We were telling the center exactly who to snap to on the risk coach. We were telling who was getting the ball, who was going to get a handoff. Like that's a real challenge. If you can scout a risk coach or scout team, a single wing team, then you got a good system. So, but if you don't have enough linemen, at least see if you can't get, use the same linemen and quarterbacks, and then use 5 skill guys if you can to make it go faster. But most of the time I run quarterback, or I'll even go play free safety or something. And that's just because I enjoy it. The kids get more excited, and because I know exactly what I want to happen, especially with the quarterback. And with me watching them and seeing how their quarterback reacts, now I can emulate that a lot better than having a scout team guy do it. But we also do it with scout team guys too. Like last year I had a little bit of an injury. I didn't get to do it as much, so we used quarterback. So cheat when necessary to give a better look. So this is helpful, especially if your scout team isn't, they're just not as talented. So like if you literally need to let a receiver start 1 yard off the ball, like, let's say if you're press coverage, you obviously can't do that or something, but that's just an example. If they just can't help you out, then you got to find a way to cheat them in some kind of way. So you got to get creative with this and think about it, but just ways to give your guys. So like on defense, it might be adding a 12th man, right? And it might not be the exact perfect look, but it depends on what you're trying to create. Or you're trying to create competition, exact look, whatever it is. So, it's things like that to make your scout teams a little bit better. This is important too. Spend time thinking how you can negate the first series speed difference. So one of the big things on one of the big things that a lot of people talk about is the lack of, or just how hard it is to start on game day, especially a defense getting used to the speed of an offense, especially when that offense does something different. So we really try to me, it's more of a conscious thing. So we really talk this up. It's a mindset thing. So we're really trying to work on this. This is a big point for me this year, is to make sure that our kids understand that first play, that first series is going to be a lot faster than our scout team, no matter what we can do. Now, we push the tempo on scout team, so that helps. But what they do is going to be a lot more efficient and a lot faster than how we can do it. So you got to talk about that. And I think it's important. And I'm trying to now, like we're trying to think of creative ways to make sure we're not slow to react in that first series of the game on both sides of the ball, really. Practice it if possible. If you can, early in the week, if you can pull your scout team aside and just go through the especially the things that are different that you don't do in your systems, then obviously that's beneficial, but I understand that's not always possible. Give your offense and defense looks you haven't seen on film. So this is big for us. So every week when I create a risk coach for our scout teams, and I'll give you I actually don't do it every week for our offense. All right, I'll explain that. But let's say I'm working for our defense and I'm creating a scout team risk coach for the offense. Then I'll throw in plays that literally are just completely random, because I don't want them getting in that mindset that this is exactly what we're going to get. And that's if you've listened to our game planning, that's what we do. So yes, we show them, especially on defense, we show them their main things, but then we just throw random things out there that we don't know if they do, don't care if they do it. We're just making our players think outside the box and be efficient and line up and react. And that's really important. But then just in general, like, I don't create a specific risk coach, and won't be creating this year a specific risk coach for like the defense we're getting ready to play. Instead, we create one risk coach. So this is very easy. If you do it, we create one risk coach for our scout team defense that can get them lined up literally in any defense you're ever going to see. So I can call yellow 10 and be in a 4-3 cover 4, and then I can call, red 18 and be in a 10-1 look and give our guys completely different looks. So we can go from a 3-3 stack to a 4-4 to a 5-2 to a monster, whatever. So we're going to be able to do that from play to play if we want to. And it's just all the terminology you use with your with this, okay, and how you get lined up. Include things that are a little bit different. So we include freeze checks. So, like, think about this. Everything, like, scout team coaches really enjoy this, but it's so inefficient, right? They're like, all right, let's go on 2 this time. Let's get them to jump. Well, then you get them to jump, and then you can't run a play, or you got to rehuddle or something. So we build freeze checks. So I'll be like, let's say freeze. Like, you can even see it on here, I think. Like, say blue 43 is freeze. So I'll be like, all right, blue 43. We'll get up there. We'll run it. We get them to jump, and then immediately I'll say, like, okay, let's go yellow 30. And then we're running so we can do a freeze check and then a real play really, really fast. Just like, if any of you guys do this for offense and defense anyways, you'll know what I'm talking about. But are you doing it for your scout teams? And then scramble drill. So we put this on here too, especially when we're playing an athletic quarterback. Like, we're basically telling our linemen, hey, block for a long time here. We'll tell our receivers, hey, just run off and then find the quarterback. So we'll tell a quarterback, take a 3-step drop, hold it, then take off running. So we're building in things like that are really important for your players to see, but you usually forget to go over them. And you see we have them on here multiple times. So, like, if we call blue 44 a bunch during the week, we can call a different one. So the kids on the other side also don't get used to us, and they just start guessing and calling, going through it. And then number 7, create skin in the game. And that's just a big thing I've been reading lately, but essentially it's a competition to a degree, right? But having consequences, right? In your team sessions, in your scout teams of, if you do the right thing, you're rewarded to a degree. If you do the wrong thing, you're not. So it's just making sure that the kids care and that there is, like, the kids believe what they're doing is important, and the consequences of what they do during these sessions, either good or bad, result in something. So again, I told you this wouldn't be a really long talk. I just wanted to present to you something that's a little different that I don't see a lot of teams doing. I really haven't seen that many teams overall using this. I've seen plenty of offenses and defenses using risk coaches, but not a lot using them for the scout teams. And yes, you're going to have to put a little time. Like, if you work on it right now, like, you could get a jump on it. Like, go watch watch some film from last year, the first couple opponents, and get out in front of this. And then by next year, as long as their coordinators don't change, you basically got it built. And then all you got to do is add the couple new plays that they start doing. But it's a sweet deal, man. Like this has been huge in the amount of reps we get, the kind of looks we give our players. And without a doubt, this is one of the best things we've ever done in our program. It saves headaches, and it's just been really big for what we do overall. And so, again, like I told you, about the formulas and creating all those things. If you go to coachtrive.com/scout, if you're watching live, don't know if there's a link on there right this second, but it will be up there within the next 24 hours. If you're watching the later on this as a replay on YouTube, it should be up by now. But this will be kind of where we put this thing out there. I've just had so many coaches ask for this and for this system in general. I sold this to a different thing about a year ago, but now got it up on Coach Drive. Literally, if you purchase it now, it'll send you to essentially these Excel files and everything, and you can start building it. If you have any questions, you can obviously ask me, and I can walk you through that. This video will be on there too as a replay. But Again, anybody that's new to this, again, I'll send an update to all this and everything through our emails. So if you haven't got signed up for our emails, go to coachdrive.com, get notified. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about scrimmages, I believe, because, we're going to be approaching the scrimmage. Now, some of you guys may be a week ahead of us, but we're getting ready to start our scrimmages, not this week, but next week. And just, I think how can we get the most out of them, especially with evaluation and just competition in general. So we'll talk about that a little bit next week. Again, if you got any specific questions regarding the risk coach, the way we create this in our scout teams, you can send those right now. I've got a couple questions right here, I think, that I'm going to start off with. And if you got one specific, you can start asking. So let me pull these questions up here and I'll get to answering. This one, first question, can you get into any offense? Yes, we do this literally with any offense you can ever think of. We go from spread teams to the unique thing about where I was originally coaching, where I grew up, there was like every week was a different offense. You didn't just see spread every week, like single wing to I formation to wishbone to spread is a very neat place, very fun place to coach. And so we were creating literally everything. So last year alone, we had a single wing team, we had a wishbone team, we had spread teams, we had an I formation team. It's endless. So yes, you can create any type of offense within this. You just got to use your terminology, and if it doesn't exist, you got to create whatever terminology makes sense for you and your players. So then the next question is, do we build tempo into all this? Do we mimic other people's tempo? We do, but honestly, we just go with our scout teams as fast as we possibly can all the time. So like I'm telling you, like no matter how fast another team goes, like how many people can run a scout team and simulate tempo unless you're just doing the same plays over and over or something. So like honestly, our players, when we get to the game, they are sitting there waiting what seems like forever for the team to get the ball snapped. Now, obviously, if it's a really good tempo team, it's about the same time period. But if you're a huddle team or a slow, no huddle team, then our kids are just sitting there waiting because we go so fast in practice with the tempo of our scout team. And I'm pushing our scout team as hard as I would our offense on getting the ball snapped. The only time we slow down is if we have a glaring issue that needs to be fixed on the other side. But and another big thing we don't just use this for team. We use this for 7-on-7. We use it for inside. So it's not just team session. We create this and give this. So we use it throughout anytime we're trying to give a look, we use this system. We don't just use it for team. So it's used a lot more than just the base. Do you show film to your scout team? We have in the past. Just depends on how unique that offense is. So yes, I have brought in quarterbacks at times, scout team guys, or maybe like literally we're so big on like the first step. Like if I'm a linebacker, the way we train our linebackers, if a lineman takes a specific step, we should be able to know exactly what play is coming. So we do that a lot. We'll bird dog it like old school. Like we'll just say, ready, go, and then whistle immediately. And we'll take one step on offense, and the defense has to call out what play is about to be ran. So that's how good we want to be. Now, I'm not saying we're always there, but so sometimes I got to bring in an offensive lineman and be like, hey, man, like this is how this guy steps. That's what we're trying to get to more and more is that, okay, this is how this guy steps. You need to step like him this week. And not saying we can be perfect, but the closer we are to their schemes, the better our guys are going to be. Then it asks, when you are going against your defense, do you script situations? So situational football, I do believe it's important in what we're kind of doing this year. So our practice routine, when we come out on the field now, so like when we come out, we start practice the exact same way we're going to start pregame. So whatever we do on Fridays for us before the game, that's exactly how we start our practices on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So our kids go onto the field just like they will on Friday. They're going to do the specialties just like they're going to do on Friday. We do like we're air raid or do some air raid things and this and that. So we do some of those drills before we get started with the game. And within that, we do that at practice. And then what do you do after that? Like you come together, you get off the field, you talk really quick, and then you go play the game. So that's how we do practice. We do our pregame routine, essentially the exact same thing. Like we're only out there like 15 minutes for our pregame. That's what we want to get it down to, or maybe 20 at the most, but we're trying to get to under 20 minutes with our pregame routine. So we do that every day before practice. And it's what we're doing this year. And then we're going to come together towards the end zone, break it down, quick talk. And then we're going to go straight into a as close to live as possible. It'll be live early on in the season. It'll be thud or close to live as possible later on in the season. But soon, like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So like we'll do pregame, and then we're going to go. So we're going to bring it together, and then immediately we go into as live as possible game situation. So our offense versus our defense. And it's going to be a new situation every time we do that. It might be on the 1 yard line going in, 1 yard line coming out, 3rd and 12, 2-minute drill, whatever. So we're making a list of every situation that needs to be worked on, and throughout the year we're going to make sure we hit those situations during those competitions. So we're just trying to simulate the beginning of the game. We want to start fast, so we want to practice exactly like the game situation is going to be on Fridays for us. So another person just asked, how much time does it take to do this? The way I do it is I have, my assistant coaches, I usually have them enter the formations and the play names anytime they want to on the weekends. And then on Monday for me is when I work on this, Monday and Tuesday, because we don't need this until Tuesday's practice. And like I said, I don't need to create the scout team defense because it's the same thing unless there's really something unique that I've never seen before. But so the offensive one, like I create it Monday and Tuesday. It usually doesn't take me. I mean, I don't work on it constantly for 2 days. Like if it's the first time I'm doing it, it's probably going to take me it's definitely less than 2 hours to create it the first time. But as the season goes on, it gets quicker and quicker. So I'm spending less than an hour on it each week to create it. And then if you don't switch jobs and you play the same teams, like some weeks it may take you 15 minutes to create it. And now it's way better than what everybody else is doing that I've seen anyways. And then it takes you way less time than drawing up all those cards. So there is some time investment early on when you first start this, but in the long run, it's really good in terms of time efficiency. And again, somebody asked how many more reps can I get with this? I think I can get 3 to 1 on what we used to get in terms of huddling up, looking at a play card, breaking the huddle, and running a rep. The only other time we were able to be fast is if we were playing somebody that did exactly what we did. So like if we ran the same offense, then we could, call it with our base stuff. But even then we had people out of position sometimes on scout team. So it wasn't that easy just to call our base stuff. So I really believe we're getting about 3 to 1 on reps than we used to get. And so that, like I'm telling you, like you're at least, if you do a 10-minute session, you can at least get 25 plays in at the minimum if you're using this stuff and you're getting your scout team guys to line up and being on top of it and not just being lazy in the background, letting people just do what they want. Like there's definitely a mindset approach the coach has to take to getting this done. And that's why it's important to have a coach that's willing to do that and not just let kids do what they want over there, or else you're always going to just have the same problems you've always had. All right. So, and then unless another question pops up here in the last second, that's basically all the questions I have. But just, you can create this on your own. If you've already have a risk coach system, just start doing it with your own way. If you, like I said, if you want to look at exactly the way we do it or get access to our thing, you can go here. And get on our website to go to that and check it out. But this is something a lot of coaches have talked to me about over the last year or so, and something we've done in our program that's really changed things. So next week, again, we'll look at talking about approach scrimmage a little bit and how we're looking at doing those this year, and then that's all. So thank you guys. I know everybody's really wrapping up or getting heated in the season right now. And this time it's really getting, some people are starting tomorrow. Some people started last week, but good luck with everything and enjoy this time and make sure to remember your other obligations in life and make sure to have a good balance.